Today on the show, we talk about the fourth film in the DCEU, the film Wonder Woman. All this and more on What the Hell Did We Just Watch? Welcome to another episode of What the Hell Did We Just Watch? I'm your host, L'Emotional Lou, and this is the show, the only show that helps spread movie awareness and also TV awareness. How's everyone doing this week? I hope everyone had a great time. I hope everybody is alive and well and kicking and screaming and happy that the weekend is here. But hope that because you are listening to this episode is because you guys have wanted to know and also have gone to see Wonder Woman.
Diana, fighting does not make you a hero.
What if I promise to be careful? Just a shield then.
Diana.
No sharp edges.
Be careful of mankind, Diana. They do not deserve you.
You've told me this story.
Now, what can I possibly say about Wonder Woman other than the fact that this film was amazing? For me, it's actually the real first blockbuster of the summer of 2017. It could have been Guardians of the Galaxy, but if you heard that episode in a previous episode, though it was good and I did enjoy it, I didn't think it was the film that really should start off the summer blockbuster like that I was really truly happy about watching, so Wonder Woman actually gave me those expectations and also exceeded them for me, and I am very happy with that because though I did not have a problem with any of the previous DCEU films, not like the way that some people are having issues with it. I'm totally fine with it. Maybe some bad choices on some films, and maybe some films were a little too long. Maybe, and this is not me talking, but maybe for some films it was way too serious for some to be able to watch, and that's on you. That's personal preference. If you think a comic book film shouldn't be too serious, then I don't know what to tell you. They went that route, but Wonder Woman justifies that that seriousness that the film has, but it gives you a little bit of humor where people are also a lot happier that they can watch something and have their laughs and enjoy it. And I'm happy too because they kept it at bay, and the laughter is there, but it's with good use, and it's called well-written jokes, and it's fine. The way it works, it's all fine. And but for the most part, this film is amazing. This film is great. And I'm going to start with what I didn't like because I love it so much that the only thing I really have to tell you that it's a very little nitpicky thing. I had to really find something to say that's negative because I didn't want to say nothing because it's not a perfect film. It's just a slight under it. You know what I mean? And it's a very little small thing. And my really small gripe that I have with it is that the team that forms up with Wonder Woman to help her in her journey, and Steve Trevor in her journey, the three soldiers, is that they're kind of shallow. You really don't really know who they are. You get to know them on the surface, but then that's pretty much it. Sometimes they come across, but one of them didn't really do his or her job, or didn't really show that he was capable of being what he was going to be in the team. Even though they spoke highly about him and all that stuff, but it completely was the opposite. You know what I mean? So I'm not really sure why they went that route with that particular character. But this, what I'm griping at is actually almost the exact same thing that Captain America: The First Avenger also falls victim of, and that's having shallow teammates. The only one that really has that isn't shallow is because he was with him the beginning part of the film is Bucky, or in Wonder Woman's case, Steve Trevor. You obviously get to know him. He's fleshed out, but he needs to be because he's the supporting actor. That is the love interest of Wonder Woman. That's not something that is spoilerish, you know. So now that we've got all those things that I didn't like out of the way, because really this is very nitpicky. It's not a big deal, you know. It's certain things you just expect. I mean, if you wanted to, maybe another gripe is that the ending's fight sequence is not memorable. But again, when was the last time? I can't even tell you when the last time. Maybe it was the first Avengers, where the bad guy was, you know, his fight was kind of memorable, you know, like, or the fight was memorable or needed to happen and all this and that. But everything else after that has always been pretty regular. You know, there's nothing, you know, it's fine. They don't need to be memorable, but they can be good. And the fight was good, and the fight was well fought, and from both sides. You know what I mean? Because the humans got their war thing going, and Wonder Woman's got her business going, and all that. You know, so that's another gripe. But again, it's just so small, and she's not the only victim. This film is not the only victim to such, you know, things. You know what I mean? That's just the way they all go. They can't all be epics anymore. We're not in the world of making epic superhero films anymore. Now we can just make them small and kind of regular, and that's good. They don't need to be so epic like the original Superman film used to be. You know what I mean? And which is fine, but it's very outdated, and it's not so grandiose anymore to be a comic book film anymore. And that's a good thing, because it literally takes the weight off a lot of it, and you can just make a solid, good film, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. What works? I want to speak to you in terms of what works in two different ways. One, as a standalone film, because I think it deserves to be spoken to as a standalone, but also spoken to it as the piece of a puzzle that's growing, which is the DCEU. You know what I mean? So it needs to be put into both perspectives. You know what I mean? The film is obviously not a standalone because of, you know, certain scenes that are in the film. But for the most of it, it is an origin film, and no other person is involved in it, because it is a film that takes place mostly during the World War I era. And, so there obviously isn't anybody in there that's going to help her. So that's where it's standalone, and the reason also why I want to call it a standalone, you know, want to rate it as a standalone, is because, believe it or not, you know, almost 80 years of Wonder Woman, she has never ever had any kind of feature film love, you know, in history. She's been in TV movie, the animated movies, and, you know, people are fans of Wonder Woman comics and obviously all those other medias, but she never really got her due. Not like the way Superman did in the late 70s or Batman did in the late 80s, you know, and, you know, their first feature film iterations, you know, that's worth they talking, you know. I mean, some might say Batman the movie was a feature film, and it was, but it wasn't a feature film. It was something that stemmed from the TV show from the 60s. And so, you know, she did get her work up with a TV show, like I said, in the 70s. And for the most part, it was well loved, just like Batman was well loved. And I'm sure Superman shows were loved as well, like when it came to the live action stuff. Their animated features all did great. You know, they all have their fans, like I said. But she never really had her first feature film, like actual, you know, budget, and let's make an actual movie like the rest of the people did, you know. So I want to just talk about how, you know, where does that stand when it comes to those kind of films. So when it comes to Wonder Woman standing up toe to toe with all the other Part 1 movies ever made, and that, like I'm saying, I'm not including the Dark Knight trilogy, because there was already a Batman, and what I'm talking about is Batman from '89, and the '76 Superman, and also 2001's Spider-Man, you know, Iron Man. You know, I'm talking about like those first films, you know, those standalone first films. You know, the entry to the superhero in film, you know, because she deserves to be put under the microscope for these, you know, under all these kind of other films. And where does she stand? Right up there with them. Right up there with them. It was a very long time in the making for whatever various reasons, whether it was sexism or, you know, not a female character not being able to get any pull in the box office or whatever, you know, whatever history has given us reasons why Wonder Woman can't come out, you know. it's no longer a problem anymore. DC has found a way to the first female for a comic book film and it be successful, and you can smell the success from it, because when I walked away from that film, I'm like, there's no way that the vast majority of the people that wanted to see this movie are going to be disappointed. There's no way. And though the past DC films that came out, the last three, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Suicide Squad, though they were critically successful, I mean, not successful critically, they were successful in terms, they have an audience, is what I'm saying. They made very good box office pull, but they were not getting a proper, not by me, but they were not getting a proper critical, appraisal for it, for whatever reasons. And everybody had different various reasons. And I understand where they were coming from. The thing is that they did not bother me, because this is the time for these DC characters to finally have a comic book versions of them. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's the gist of what that I always keep trying to tell people about what DC's doing. Everybody's so used to seeing these characters. We have like 50 years of like quote unquote real superhero movies, and I'm done with that. Whether the Dark Knight trilogy was your first one, or Spider-Man from 2001 was the first one. I'm not knocking the quality of these movies, because they were good, but it's time for a change. And I think that's one of the reasons why the X-Men franchise is suffering, because they're still going along with this quote unquote real, direction. Deadpool is not in the quote unquote real direction. Look how successful that is. Look at the way that Marvel's cinematic universe is going. They're going fine. People have this like notion, because everything just feels so real in the Marvel cinematic universe, because they're a little bit more grounded at times when it comes to certain films. But look at the way Doctor Strange is. That's far from grounded, man. You know what I mean? Like the way that the Avengers are, both of them, that's far from grounded. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy. That's far from grounded. You know what I mean? So like we're going into a venture where I believe that DC kind of started it. Even though they're, people may not agree, but I think that they gave us the very first, like, this is not a grounded superhero film. Man of Steel was far from grounded, especially the way that Zod and Superman fight and things like that. It's grounded in terms of feelings and where it comes from and all this and that, but you don't need to be a quote unquote real comic book movie to do that. You know what I mean? You can do it just like this. Some people are just turned off by the science fiction or the fantasy part of it, and I can't, it's kind of like me telling, if you don't like movies about space, it's me trying to sell you Star Wars. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? But I go, ventured way off Wonder Woman, but it's just trying to tell you like what kind of film we're getting. And we got a quote unquote, just like what I was just saying, is that we got a quote unquote grounded with feeling film. You know what I mean? Wonder Woman is just her character and how she reacts to Earth, the Earth, the way Earth is, the way that the world is, I should say, because she's not from another planet, but the way that the world works and her naiveness about how it works, because she's never seen something like that before. She thinks that everything was just clean cut and straight. And then when she sees the way people are, I love it. That was gold to me, and you really see her really fight with her whole heart in terms of like how she fights. She gets emotional about things the way that I do, when it comes to her saving the day and having to save people's lives and all that stuff. But just so we're clear, when it comes to part one films, talking about Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, and anyone that had a very cool and good, successful part one, Wonder Woman is up there, and it deserves to be up there for it. And I'm very happy that this film is critically accepted. Finally, by critics. I wasn't worried about the people, because the people really, if you look at what people really say, they're not as unhappy. Most of them are unhappy with Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad it's a tough sell. You know, people might think that it wasn't, but I believe that selling a film, you know, with a group of villains that are forced to have to be good, it's a hard sell. You know, especially with most of the villains, nobody really knowing who they are. Even if you're getting a A-list actor to play a character named Deadshot, I can tell you only 5 people. I can pull 5 people and they won't know who the fuck Deadshot is, but they'll tell me it's the guy that Will Smith played, but they won't even know who the fuck he is. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. People know who Harley Quinn is, but the only reason why is because she's associated with Joker, and everybody knows who Joker is. That's just the way it is too. You know, but this film, no one has a problem with anyone any of the characters that are being shown. They're liking them. They're liking who's playing them, and that's a good thing. But they've been subpar for some people when it comes to the movies. But this one, Wonder Woman, is actually quite the opposite. Everybody's loving it critically. Everybody's loving it outside of criticism. You know what I mean? They're going to see this movie. They're coming back and they're saying it's amazing and it's great. You know, and the word of mouth on my social media feed is very positive. You know, unlike where the other films where it was like mixed, where it's like some people were saying it was awesome, some people saying it was corny, but you really can't. There's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? You can't force the people to like or hate anything, you know, that they don't like. And you know, I hate the Transformers franchise, but there they go. Lo and behold, they keep making more movies. Why? Because they're financially successful, even if they're critically not. Okay, so. You know, Wonder Woman had a shot to be the first film to kind of hit a home run. You know, bases were loaded. It was kind of single. And then there's the fourth one, and it's kind of like a grand slam, because I know that with this film, it's going to make a lot of people kind of forgive the ones that had a problem with it. It will, you know, forgive what was given to us before. You know what I mean? So a lot of people will forgive it, and that's just the way. It's a psychological thing. It's mental. You know, it's kind of like not so bad. And I'll get to, you know, into it, what I mean when it comes to comparing it where the DCU films are, you know, together as a unit. And I'm just very happy that DC has finally been able to find this niche where they can tell a story, make people enjoy it. And then also not stray away from the kind of stories they want to tell. And what I mean by that is that this film has consequences, as all the DCEU films did too. You know, there's some form of sacrifice. There is some form of a person dying that we know will not come back. You know what I mean? The only person that actually goes away from that is the sacrifice that Superman made in Batman vs Superman, where what happened, it also in Man of Steel, where the consequence was, or the sacrifice was, him having to kill Zod, something that he was not ready to do, but kill Zod in order to save some humans that were in his way that he was about to kill if he didn't kill him. You know, he had a choice to make, and now he had to live with it. And also by living with it, the next film, Batman vs Superman, Superman had to deal and live with the fact that his choices had ridiculous consequences. And even to the point, not only with just the people of Earth, but also Batman, because he was also one of the people that felt that Superman had to pay for the things that he did with Zod and all that stuff. Like, people were scared, the whole alien thing and all that stuff. You know, that's what I mean about consequences. You know, and that's and also, even in Suicide Squad, there's a sacrifice. El Diablo sacrificed himself for the greater good of the team and all that stuff. But we know these people are not coming back, except for Superman, who gave his life to kill Doomsday. You know, but he will be back. But even when he is resurrected, it won't be so cut and dry. Trust me, there will be repercussions. There's going to be something that he's not going to come back clean. Trust me, is what I'm saying. It just feels that way because of the way that DC is writing their stuff. There are consequences to all the things that are happening in all the films. And even Wonder Woman has those consequences. You know what I mean? And I'll get to that, like I said. But they share that. You know what I mean? They all share consequences. And Marvel does not. They have not. I can't even tell you where Avengers was the one I really thought where, you know, there was a consequence when it came to this guy passing, and then, you know, everybody being all devastated by him dying, Agent Coulson. But he was brought back to life. Clean cut. Everybody comes back to life. You know what I mean? in the Marvel universe, there are no consequences, and that's the part that upsets me. No one is paying a price for what's going on. You would think that War Machine did in Civil War. No, he didn't. He's up and about and he's ready to go. It's only a matter of time before he's walking inside of a fucking inside his War Machine suit. Even if he's paralyzed, it don't matter. They're going to make him walk. There are no consequences. Even if you're evil, who was good, and then you turn evil, you'll just need to turn good and you'll be fine. But no, you won't die and then realize that you were in the wrong, or whatever like that. Something like that. It's just like I'm not saying that those Marvel films are wrong or bad. It's just that I've always had a problem with, I'm talking about since day one, where I had a problem with the fact that there are no consequences in the Marvel films. No one's paying a price for anything. Okay? Or at least when you think that they are, and there's a moment where they are, they get redeemed all the time. So it's kind of like, why are they keep pushing if no one's, paying a price? Like, you really thought that in Civil War, Iron Man, Tony Stark was really siding with this with the wrong side, because it is a wrong side. But even so, siding with the wrong side because of what that lady had told him about her son. And you think that he's trying to go a specific way, but then when you learn, he just goes back to the same way that he was before. Did he really learn something? Maybe, I don't know, but they're not showing it if he did. So, I mean, he's still they're not changing the way he is. He's not a better man because of it. He's still the same man. Every time I'm seeing Tony Stark on screen, as much as I love to see him and I love the jokes and all that stuff, he's the same Tony Stark without any kind of growth, and he's been in the series the longest, but when it comes to DCU and Wonder Woman fitting in, she fits great. And what I mean by that is that if you've seen Batman vs Superman by now, it's been out long enough, you see that she's very bitter towards the human race. She's not exactly, not that she's in a bad place, but I mean, she's obviously worn out. She's been fighting for a long time, you can tell. And she didn't even want to be a part of what was going on in Gotham City and Metropolis between Batman and Superman. She had her own agenda and she was sticking to it, looking for what she was looking for. But the thing is that with her bitterness and her lack of wanting to move forward, before Superman passed away, is that you really get to see why she is the way she is in Batman vs Superman. In Wonder Woman, you get to see that. You see her innocence in that film, because in Batman vs Superman, what she lacks is innocence. She is not innocent anymore, because you can tell that she's been on Earth for a very, very long time, or she's been a part of the world for a very, very long time. And that makes her see things, and she gets to get things and then gets them taken away, because again, being a superhero, there are consequences. That's just the way that it is. And that's what makes, I will always say this, what makes a superhero film work story-wise are consequences. The wanting to be and do certain things, but not being able to, because you have a civil duty. You have a duty to have, that you've made a sacrifice, to not get the things that you want in life for the greater good of saving the people. And that's what this film teaches you. That's what I believe all DC films have taught us, and I don't give a shit if there's no jokes in it. It does. The messages are there, and we can't be like the way that it used to be anymore. And people want it to be that way, but they're not realizing that times have changed the way that we want to see our superheroes be on film. It's a great day to be, a comic book fan and a comic book movie fan. Why? Because we get to see a very high percentage part of what we read come to life on screen. Like, that was unheard of before. You got way less of a percentage of accuracy, back then. Not even if you did enjoy it. And I enjoyed most of it. Trust me when I tell you. But I think it's time to give these comic book versions of these characters their due. It's time that we start and we try to understand why they're doing the way they're doing things, and why are they fighting these people? Like, because we want to see them fight impossible creatures, or or aliens from other planets. Like, we're there. No more fighting regular guys and girls. Like, no, man. Like, you know, this is the age, you know, where Batman is finally going to fight Deathstroke, another person that's getting a cinematic feature film debut as a villain. You know what I mean? Like, it's that time. You know, we want to see the Strange come out of the enemies of our DC characters, because they don't. Only in cartoon they do. You know what I mean? So it's a time that we get to see. And those past films of those other good or great superhero films, they wouldn't house these kinds of enemies in them. It would be too weird, and it would be out of tone and out of touch, and it wouldn't work. You know what I mean? So in the DCEU, this film really is cohesive, especially with Batman vs Superman, since it's the film that she came out of and she was introduced of. You get to see how she is and why she is the way that she is in that film, and then you get to attach it with Wonder Woman, and they gracefully, you know, it makes sense. It makes total sense. And, you know, I think that part we have to thank Zack Snyder for, because he is one of the people that created the actual story without writing the screenplay, but one of the ideas of the story. I think that part right there is what, because he's very detailed when it comes to the stories that he wants to tell and the way that he wants to tell it. And since he did Man of Steel, and he also did Batman vs Superman, and also is doing he did Justice League, though he had to step down prematurely. But, you know, for the most part, he finished it. It is very much his film, and I'm very, you know, happy that he was able to stay on board and finish the job, you know, despite of all the, you know, the fucked up shit that he had to deal with since March. And, you know, thoughts and prayers go out to him for that. You know, I'm not going to talk about what's going on, but he had to step down, and Joss Whedon is now, he picked up the pace. I mean, picked up the fallen pieces, and is helping put it together when it comes to editing, probably sound and all that stuff, additional pickups. He's writing some new scenes that are going to be put into the film, but, you know, it's a very small percent, maybe 25 of the 75 that Snyder put in, you know, or maybe even 80-20. But, you know, Zack Snyder, I think that part, some of that connectivity of character of Wonder Woman in Batman vs Superman, and also in Wonder Woman, I think that deals that comes from him. That comes from the detail of him, and I love me some detail. You know what I mean? I love it. You know, it's great. You know, so I'm pretty sure that was his part of the involvement with that. So anyway, I think I've talked way too much about Wonder Woman and how awesome it is, and how I highly recommend everyone watch it, especially if you're into the DCEU stuff and you can't wait to see where it goes. Like I said from the beginning, even from Man of Steel, and especially during Batman vs Superman when it came out, is that I started kind of feeling and kind of seeing that I think that the way that they're trying to tell their universe is applying a very small piece so you can get a very big picture as the movies come out. You know, and I'm seeing that, like, because it's making perfect sense. Like, it's cohesive, and there's a story that's being told, and it connects very well, and it pushes the story forward as a whole. You know what I mean? It's just small pieces. It's coming down, and it's forming a huge picture where I think people will appreciate it when it's like, you know, now, you know, it's past 4, but past 5 films, people are going to start seeing like, oh, I see where they're going and how they're doing it and why they're doing it the way they're doing it. But I think that critically, I know it's premature and it's just been one film, but I think that since Wonder Woman was the first film that was in development when they added Geoff Johns, you know, into this fray of executive producer, is that I think we might be in the clear, you know what I mean, for critics to be a little bit more happy with the way that where the film universe is going, you know what I mean? I had no problem with it from before, but I did agree that it would have been nice. It would be nice to have someone kind of like overseeing everything, you know what I mean? Like Kevin Feige is for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, whatever issues I have with Marvel Cinematic Universe, I can still honestly say that I'm enjoying the films as they keep come out. They're fine. The problem is that they're becoming less and less memorable for me. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. And is I want them to kind of step it up a notch. And I hope that when they, you know, keep making more films, that they, you know, go back to the drawing board in the script and say, what can we do to give this film more heart? You know, let's give a shit. Let's let people give more of a shit of these characters that we're putting on screen. And Wonder Woman is a home run. And I think that everybody can agree with me there. So I'm very happy to, be a part of, to see how that's panning out. So I'm very, very happy with that, So I think that's about it. You can follow me on my social media sites. You can follow me on Facebook.com/WhatTheHellPcast, Instagram.com/WhatTheHellPcast, Twitter.com/TheHellPcast. You can follow me on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on What the Hell Did We Just Watch? You can do that on the search engine. You can also, have questions, email, just comments. Tell me what you think about it. Let me know. I want to hear voices. I want to keep spreading Wonder Woman's voice out into social media so people can hear what I have to say, or what everybody else has to say. If you haven't seen it and you really want to jump in, this is it's a film for women to see, because it's about that time that a woman hero can actually be seen as a positive film and be up there with the rest of everybody else, and they don't have to do a quote unquote movie woman version of it. It's not, it's a very girl power, but it's not girl pushing. She's a hero like everybody else, and I love it. It's that equality part of it. That's the point that I'm trying to make. It has that equal sense to it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying, oh, girl, good guy. No, man, it's for everybody, guys and girls. Go watch it. She's a badass hero. She knows what the fuck she's doing, and I cannot wait for the next two films, because it is a planned trilogy, and I also cannot wait to see her again in the Justice League. And I hope that people that loved Wonder Woman, I hope that they go to see her, if this was their first film that they saw for DCU, I hope that they're going to want to see her in Batman vs. Superman, and also want to see her when Justice League comes out at the end of the year in November. So, I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited to see any brand new fans. So it's going to be great, so you got my social media sites. You just got to follow, comment, like, share, so that's it, man. The professional appreciator is finished for today. So without further ado, this has been Lumotional Lou, Wonder Woman, and I just got one thing to say. It's been Lumotional.